Coming up in this brief, pushback on sighting of 24-hour economy markets raises serious questions about viability and community involvement. In this brief, we hear from project managers. Also coming up, Force's ambulance is headed for refurbishment and full use as government moves to improve emergency care. Also ahead, NPP opens nominations ahead of national executive elections after successful regional elections. Ahead, a look at some key regions. I am Kemini Amano with the Daily Brief. You're welcome. Here are the news summaries this hour.
The High Court in Accra has adjourned the case involving the former National Signals Bureau Director, Kwabena Idubuahene, and his wife, Angela Ejay Boating, pending the determination of an injunction application seeking to restrain specialized courts as vacation court sitting on criminal cases. Kwabena Idubuahene and his wife, Angela Ejay Boating, are facing multiple charges, including stealing, money laundering, and causing financial loss to the state. Tanker drivers in Kumasi have begun a 3-day sit-down strike, raising concerns over alleged inaccuracy in meter readings and inadequate parking facility. The drivers say discrepancies in the measurement of petroleum products are affecting their operation and resulting in financial losses. The Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, ICU Ghana, is calling for stronger collaboration between organized labor and government to protect jobs and promote a peaceful industrial climate. General Secretary of the union, Morgan Ayawin, says closer cooperation will enable both sides to engage in constructive dialogue and negotiate in good faith. The New Patriotic Party is opening nominations today for its national executive elections, with prospective aspirants expected to pick nominations from today to Saturday, August 22. The party last week outlined a new timetable for the election, which is scheduled for October 3, 2026.
Those are the news summaries. Michael will brings us some business news now. Michael, what's happening?
Well, the CD is beginning to pick up a bit. It's looking good for us, and you know what that means in the long term.
It sounds great to me.
Prices at the pumps, which we are all very concerned about. By the way, the details now. Hello there. Welcome to the business segment here on Daily Brief. Now, the Ghana cedi has recorded a sharp recovery against the dollar after 4 consecutive days of gains between August 11 and 14. Foreign exchange market data show the local currency strengthening significantly, with some commercial banks quoting the dollar at around 11 cedis 30 pesos, while Bloomberg data placed the exchange rate closer to 10 cedis 96 pesos. The Bank of Ghana's reference rate stood at 10 cedis 98 pesos.
The latest rates mark a notable improvement from earlier this month, when some banks sold the dollar above 12 Ghana cedis. The cedi's recovery is attributed to a combination of stronger foreign exchange inflows, interventions by the Bank of Ghana, and lower demand for dollars from businesses. Inflows from the extractive sector, together with offshore investor interest in domestic bonds, have also provided support for the local currency. Recent foreign exchange auctions by the central bank suggest easing pressure in the market. On August 11, the Bank of Ghana offered $125 million to commercial banks, but bids amounted to only $85 million. A similar pattern emerged on August 13 when banks sought $94 million out of another $125 million offered. Market participants say the lower uptake points to reduced demand for foreign currency and improved liquidity conditions. The extent to which recent regulatory measures affecting commercial banks' foreign currency holdings have contributed to the cedi's rebounds remains unclear. Some financial institutions expect the cedi's gains to continue in the coming weeks, supported by sustained inflows and weaker demands for dollars from importers and businesses. Additional donor inflows are also expected to strengthen Ghana's foreign exchange reserves and support currency stability. The Bank of Ghana says the recent performance of the cedi is consistent with its exchange rate management framework.
Now, Government of Ghana has recorded its 8th consecutive oversubscription at the Treasury Bill auction on Friday, August 14, 2026, attracting bids of 11.279 billion cedis against an initial target of almost 6 billion cedis. The strong demand underscores the continued use of treasury bills by government to raise short-term financing and manage its immediate funding needs.
The strong demand translates into a subscription rate of 188.21% and oversubscription rate of 88.21%. However, government accepted 4.88 billion cedis, representing an acceptance rate of 43.28% of total bid and about 81.46% of its target. For the 91-day bill, investors offered 5.066 billion cedis, of which government accepted 4.065 billion cedis at a yield of 5.46%. The 182-day bill attracted 1.281 billion cedis in bid, with 526.44 million cedis accepted at a yield of 7.27%. Meanwhile, the 364-day bill received the strongest investor interest, with offers reaching 4.931 billion cedis. Government, however, accepted just 289.7 million cedis at a yield of 12.50%. The auction comes amid a continued decline in Treasury bill yield, even as investor demand remains robust. The results indicate that investors continue to show strong appetite for government securities despite the lower returns. Government's decision to accept below 8 target also suggests a cautious approach to borrowing as yields continue to ease.
Now, economic activities in Ghana expanded by 5.1% in May 2026, driven largely by strong growth in the services sector. Latest data from the monthly indicator of economic growth by Ghana Statistical Service shows the MIEG index rose to 121.9 in May, up from 115.9 recorded in the same month last year.
The services sector recorded the strongest growth, expanding by 7.2% and contributing 51% to overall economic growth during the period. Industry also grew by 4.2%, accounting for 23.8% of total growth, while agriculture expanded by 3.6% and contributed 21.2%. The growth in agriculture was driven mainly by the crops and livestock subsectors. The figures point to continued expansion across all three major sectors of the economy, with services remaining the biggest driver of economic activity in May 2026. The broad-based growth suggests sustained momentum across key areas of the economy during the period. The latest performance also reflects increased activity in sectors that support production, employment, and household incomes.
Let's bring you updates now from the currency and the commodities market, where the dollar currently is selling at 10 cedis 95 pesos, a significant jump from the 11 cedi range we had last week. The pound is at 14 cedis 85 pesos, the euro at 12 cedis 68 pesos. I'll be guided that these figures will be much higher at a forex bureau near you. We bring you updates now from the commodity front. Crude oil is up by some $0.43 Australian at $88.95 per barrel. Gold is also up by $44.48 Australian at $4,420 per ounce. And cocoa is up by some $206 Australian at $5,979 per ton. Let's bring you updates now across the globe in 60 seconds. And that'll be all for the business segment here on Daily Brief. I am Michael Obodu. Kemeni, over to you.
Oh, thank you very much for bringing us some business stories this hour. Michael Obodu there. Let's turn attention to our big stories this hour, because government's ambitious plan to transform traditional markets across the country into modern 24-hour economy markets is gathering pace. But so too are concerns from some of the very traders and communities who potentially benefit from the project. The plan to construct 261 of these modern markets in each district. But some communities are pushing back on location, lack of compensation, and proper engagement as sword-cutting ceremonies take place. This evening, our coverage begins with Armstrong Gold-Alogbe with the depth of the concerns these communities are raising, particularly at the yam market here in Accra.
It is 12 noon at the Kokumba Yam Market in Accra, and trading activities are still in full swing. From yam sellers to buyers and headquarters, the market is bustling with activity as traders go about their daily activities. As traders go about their daily business. Not far from the Kokumba Yam Market is the Nzima Oil Market, which is equally busy with trading activities. However, these heavily populated markets could soon be demolished to pave way for the construction of government's 24-hour market. But traders, led by the market leaders, say they are not prepared to live without a fight. They insist the existing markets are already providing employment and supporting economic activities around the capital city.
So where the trailers are, we are told that place is the Nzima Market, where the Greater Accra Metropolitan Assembly says is going to develop it into the 24-hour economy market. This place is the only major place where trailers traveling from the northern part of the country park and offload their goods.
The General Secretary of the Kokumba Yam Market, Solomon Thamja, says the market is already operating around the clock.
You know, what are the intentions of the 24-hour economy? The way we understand it is to create more jobs, to provide more avenues for people who are interested in entering into gainful employment. And here, we are already doing that.
Thamja says rather than demolishing the market, the authorities should focus on improving the existing facilities.
Yams are not sold in storage buildings. And we don't sell our yams on pavements. They'll get rotten. Look, sometimes the government embarks on certain policies without doing due diligence study of the area.
Some traders also expressed concern about the eviction notice. They cite the demolition of the former Agbobloshi Onion Market, where, according to them, significant state resources were used to demolish and fence the area. They say the site was subsequently left unused for its intended purpose and has since been taken over by other activities. A visit by the news team to the site of the former onion markets appeared to confirm that The area is currently being used by scrap dealers, waste collectors, and other businesses. For now, traders at the Kokumba Yam Market, Kokumba Cargo Station, and Nzima Market say they will resist any attempt to demolish their businesses and are calling on the Accra Metropolitan Assembly to engage them before taking any further action. Joseph Armstrong, Gold Alogbe, TV3, Kokumba Yam Market, Accra.
So that's the situation here in the capital city. We also know that this is a project across 261 districts of this country. And these concerns have come across from across the country. Now, joining me now are Ashanti Region correspondent Ibrahim Abubakar, Upper West Region correspondent Ibrahim Wangara, and from the Volta Region, Faisal Abdul Idris. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We know that during sword cutting ceremonies in your regions as well, some concerns were raised by the community. So start off with you, Ibrahim. In your case, there were issues about the location of a bank or a relocation of a bank. Bring us up to speed.
Well, Kemini, so in the Ashanti region, I can at least cite 6 districts that have issues with the construction or sword cutting of the 24-hour market. At Abuabu in the Asparimampo municipality, construction is already underway. However, the project has halted in recent times. That was somewhere last week because of the demolition of the bank, and that has triggered some controversy. We do know that these projects are expected to provide traders with modern trading environments and boost economic activities. Already hundreds of existing structures were there, but they were demolished to pave way for the project. And we also have this bank that was also seated right on that site. And just last weekend, that facility also went down. But then the bank was saying that they were still in talks with the assembly authorities to make sure they have a new place before they can move. As a bank, they cannot just go and rent a place and just move there. BOG and ARBFS Bank must have to come there, look at the location, certify it before they go. And that was what they were doing. And then suddenly the assembly came, demolished their structure, and started with the ongoing. So this matter is now before court, and they are trying to see how they can do to resolve the dispute over there. So that is for Asparimampo. Then we have in the case of Amansie Central as well, there were controversies about location. Residents and traditional leaders in Jakobu rejected the plan to site it at Mile 7. And they were insisting that Jakobu, being the district capital and commercial center, deserved the project. So the disagreement led to protests ahead of the planned commencement of construction. So as we speak, work has halted at that place also. Then we are talking about Apuano Southwest. The location is at Mankran, so where residents are also raising environmental concerns over there. They are saying that the proposed site is prone to flooding because of its proximity to the Mankran River. And their concern is that you cannot build a major market on a plant road site because it could expose traders and public investment to future risk, because this is a place where anytime it rains, the entire section gets flooded. So they do not understand why authorities will even decide to put up a market structure there, even though the assembly says engineers have looked at the situation and they have certified it for it to go on. Then we also have Ebuakwa, that's Achumanwebeja. The market is being cited as a football pitch, that's a community football pitch. So we've had the residents also demonstrating, saying no, they will not allow the assembly to put up the market there. They should go and find another location, because this is a place that they have also been developing their talent. So clearly, when you look at all these situations, you realize that no proper consultation has been made, that stakeholder engagement hasn't been made for people to be convinced the need to put up those market facilities there. That's how come we are having this back and forth in some of these areas.
We'll travel even further up north. Thank you very much, Ibrahim Abubakar. Ibrahim Wangara is in the Upper West region. Over there in Wa, there have been concerns raised about the siting of the 24-hour economy market. Talk to us about that, Ibrahim.
Yes, if you come to what, like you rightly mentioned, the issue of these 24-hour markets, particularly its siting, became an issue. We were hearing that a 72-year-old school, Tendamba School, was to be demolished, while others say to be relocated to pave way for the construction of the market. So this was something that was ongoing until the former Minister for Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Ahmed Ibrahim, in one of his visits to the Upper West region, made it clear to the residents that he assured them that no school was going to be demolished for their market. He said this on January 30, 2026. Shortly after his comment on the issue, it appears to be some kind of division among the government, because this was an issue that was raised by the municipal chief executive, which appears to have gotten some kind of backing from the government. But after the local government minister assured residents that the school was not going to be demolished, it raised eyebrows and people were talking and discussing about it. More particularly, the PTA of the Tendamba Junior High School, Old Bones, and even the landlords who owns the school. They were all in disagreement about the relocation or the demolition, if we will put it. But it extended that on June 13, 2026, the particular school, Tendamba Primary School building, was demolished overnight to clear to pave way for the construction of the market. However, shortly when the building was cleared, the learners who were using the old structure were relocated to join their colleagues at the junior high school level. This is a school where the basic level was on a different environment, and then the junior high school was also located on a different or a separate environment. But leadership also says that the decision to demolish or relocate the learners at the Tembambe Primary School was that the school structure itself was not good for purpose. And then as a result, it was kind of recording low attendance because people were not wanting their children to be enrolled in that particular school. And as a result, it was affecting academic progress within the municipality.
Very well.
So the municipal executive renovated some structures which were also within the premises of the junior high school, where the basic learners were now moved into to have their education there and then to pave way for their construction. So that is how the issue has been handled. So on July 6, 2026, the municipal chief executive, Alhaji Nuraita Damwana, alongside traditional leaders, including the Yarena, the Tendambes, that's the landlords, and then the overlord of the Wala Traditional Council representatives, the regional chief imam, and other stakeholders within the municipality officially handed oversight for the construction of the market on the demolished
school land. I see, Ibrahim.
Yes.
I'm going to bring in now our Volta region correspondent, Faisal Abdul-Idris. And Faisal, you report that in the case of one district in the Volta region, it's a matter of which one of us should have the 24-hour market first. Talk to us about that.
The Volta Regional Minister, James Gonu, in May, signed an MOU with the contractors to pave way for the implementation of the 24-hour economy market project across the 18 district and municipalities in the Volta region. As I speak to you, work has already begun on some of the projects in some of the districts. Some districts just last week have done clearing of site. But in the case of Akachin North District, somewhere in July, issues aroused about how the siting of the project is being done. The assembly, and for that matter, government is situating this project in Avehevi, but the people of Avedakpa said that they live in the district capital, they have the population, and of course, the market at the district capital, Avedakpa, currently does not have all the facilities that it needs to operate as a market. And so they thought that the 24-hour economy market should have been brought to them. And so once to situate the site, the project in Avehevi, they went onto the streets to protest, submitted a petition to the DCE asking that they would have to relook at that decision to site the project in Avehevi. But government, and I mean, if I say government, I mean the district assembly maintains that Avehevi is the most economically viable place for this market because already there is a market in Heavy that is operating. And if you check across the district, the Heavy market brings to the district more revenue than any other market. And the district feels that, the district assembly feels that that is the best place to have it. But of course, there was an issue with that of the Keta municipality as well. When the assembly said they were situating it in Abo, the people of Keta says, the market in Keta currently is not in good condition. This is a district capital. Why don't you bring it here? And that has been the issues. As I speak to you, several other consultations are underway. Just last week, the regional minister was in Akachin to engage the chiefs and those that are already aggrieved over the siting of this project and asking that, and he's asking them to calm down, that government will take steps to in other locations so that this project in Avehevi can continue.
Very well, gentlemen, I'll leave it here with you. Thank you very much for bringing us these stories. These are our correspondents from the Volta, Upper West, and Ashanti regions. I'll bring in now Usama Idrisu Samu, who's the Director Policy Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation at the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. Let's learn a bit more about why we are seeing these problems across the country. Usama, thank you very much for your time now. The similarities in these issues leave us with a question as to what kind of preparation went into some of these projects before sword-cutting ceremonies were held.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and good afternoon to all your cherished listeners. Yes, the issue of the 24-hour economy market policy is drawn from the broader 24-hour economy initiative, as we all know. As a ministry, all what we do as policy formulators is to ensure standard and coordination. And so we set the standard for the assemblies. We came out with about 4 models for metropolitan assemblies. That's the type 1, municipal assembly for type 2, district assembly for type 3, and we have type 4, which is for assemblies that are smaller in nature, and they think that's what they can construct. But then let's come to the issue of preparation. The issue of preparation, as well as siting of the project, is rightly sitting with the assemblies. I'm talking of the MMDAs. And so
so the ministry has nothing to do with these, because you speak as though the assemblies are a separate body from the local government ministry, and that is not the case.
Yes, like I said, you know what the decentralization policy that we operate in as a country, and so the issue of where to site the project, in conjunction with the assemblies, the chiefs, and other key stakeholders, right, is in the hands of the MMDAs. So as a ministry, we are not in charge as to where to send the project. So that's why the chief executives are to consult the chiefs, who are the owners of the land, and all other key stakeholders to ensure that they all agree as to where the project should go.
Very well. Osama, I'm going to come back to you. I'll bring in now Michael Otrebefi, who is the ranking member on Parliament's Trade, Industry and Tourism Committee. He's also New Jabin South MP. Honorable, good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time here. I'd like to believe that these stories you have heard from across the regions do not surprise you, because you have raised concerns about the project management of these 24-hour economy markets. But when you hear from the local government ministry saying that, look, this is a matter for the MMDAs to have handled together with traditional leaders of wherever they were citing these markets, how does that response come to you?
Thank you very much, my sister, for this opportunity. I want to extend my greetings to all the other panelists if they are this matter. But then I want us to establish one important point before we continue. Let us establish the fact that the 24-hour market that the government is undertaking is not the 24-hour economy. Let us establish that fact. I want you to also emphasize it whilst you are talking, that the 24-hour market that the government, or 24-hour market initiative that is being undertaken by the government, is not the same as the 24-hour economy. 24-hour economy is a different policy altogether. In the 24-hour policy document, specifically, government only stated in the policy, when we write the policy, government only stated that they were going to establish what we call fish markets. Fish market across the country. That's also government said. Government didn't say anything about a general 24-hour market that is going to. So I want us to make sure that we show the distinction, so that our various good listeners and cherished viewers will understand.
Is that the case, Honorable? Is that the case, Honorable? Because remember that government had also talked about how they would have a 24-hour cycle of produce from farm to table. And within that cycle is creating a readily available market for these produce to be sold. And so while it may not be in name, there is accommodation for it in the concept of the program under AGRIC, correct?
No, I don't have a problem with that. I was just establishing that point to you, because so it will interest you to know that I've been speaking on this matter for some time now. Most of the anchors and most of the people that have been interviewing me have been confusing the two, thinking that the 24-hour economy is the same as the 24-hour market.
Very well.
The 24-hour market is different, and so it is not part of the policy. So, and government cannot pretend to substitute 24-hour market to 24-hour economy. The 24-hour economy, which was the flagship policy of this government, has not taken off. That's the fact. All we have done is to give them a secretariat. All we have done is to give them a policy and the bills setting up the secretariat. But the policy has not taken off. And so the whole Ghana must know today, I am putting on record that the 24-hour market is different from 24-hour economy. 24-hour economy has not started. Now let me come to the substantive issue, if that is okay.
Right.
You see, once the government is undertaking these markets, which somehow will be so good for us, government must also be careful not to create unnecessary inconvenience for people. Now, what is happening now across the country? Listen to your correspondent. Clearly, there are a lot of issues. And yesterday last Friday, I had another session on that media house. And the same thing happened when we were reporting across the country. Clearly, there has been an issue on the ground. And government must sit down, identify the issues, and come back again. Because if we don't take care, there's going to be mass court action, legal actions. There's going to be mass problems that can affect government ultimately. Because if you want to set up a market, and the location of the market is going to create problem, because you think that somebody has constructed this building and you think this is supposed to be a government property. Why did you do that? And so let us demolish the property, a completed property, to establish a market. That doesn't make sense. It will create a lot of problems for the system. And that is what I believe that the ministry, you saw that the Ministry of Local Government now is now distancing itself from the whole policy. That whole arrangement, this arrangement. That is serious. So Who will be the implementing agency to implement? Is the 24-hour economy secretariat? The Ministry of Local Government, whether you like it or not. It is not about MMDC, it's not about the metropolitan district and municipal assemblies. It is your responsibility. You have to make sure that things are done well. So management and coordination of these 24-hour markets must be placed on the doorstep of the Ministry of Local Government. And they cannot leave that and say that they cannot handle it.
Very well. And that's why I bring Osama back, because Osama, while you try to create the impression that this is not a problem of the local government ministry directly, in the name of what you call decentralization, when you go on the presidency.gov website, at the time that the president cut the first sword to launch the 24-hour economy markets, the Minister of Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs at the time, Ahmed Ibrahim, was there and served notice on the project contractors, warning that shoddy work will not be tolerated. But here you are today telling me that it is the problem of the MMDAs not engaging traditional leaders, and that is why we are having all the problems around siting and poor consultations across the country. You have checked your responsibility to the MMDAs, and you want the Ghanaian people to blame the assemblies. Why?
Thank you very much. We are not checking our responsibility. If you heard your correspondent from, I think, Upper West, Mr. Wangara, you realize that he didn't mention more than 1 or 2 sites in the region. And so all other sites are active as we speak. And what I'm trying to put across is that, in fact, in the first place, the 24-hour market construction is one of the cornerstones of the broader policy initiative under the 24-hour economy. And so to say it's not part and parcel of the 24-hour economy policy, I beg to differ. And like I started, the issue of, I said it again, and I will say that the selection of the site, you don't expect the ministry to go down and do selection of site. But we gave the parameters. And in fact, these issues that we are discussing now, we are talking about 260 plus markets across the country. And these are just, let me say, 1 or 2 or 3 issues.
It's much more than that. In the Ashanti region alone, we are counting about half a dozen cases there. And so it's much more than just 1 or 2. You say that you set some parameters. What were the parameters you set going into this project?
The parameters are: 1, the chief executive should consult the chiefs who are the owners of the land. And we also set a technical committee at the RCCs, which is the regional coordinating councils, to ensure that whatever proposed site that you bring up, the technical committee at the RCC will go down and do the necessary assessment and the checks. And before the final, let's say, proposed sites are pushed to the ministry. However, after proposing the site, chief executives are expected to start the consultation. Don't forget that most of the lands are already being occupied by traders or other people. And so that should have started earlier to ensure that by the time we kickstart the project, the necessary consultation will have been done, and then there will be the way for the project to start. And I will say it again, across the 261 assemblies, majority of the projects are successfully ongoing.
What does majority mean? How many sites have you cut sword at without problems?
Oh, the site cutting, we normally do 1 in a region. And so it's essentially the president will go and cut sword only at a site in a region. But as I speak, I have the information, and I can tell you that from OT, Volta, Upper East, Upper West, Northeast, Bono East, Ahafu, West region. In fact, contractors are on site working.
I see. So this is not a failed project at all?
At all.
I'll bring back Honorable Ochebefi on this point. Honorable, he says, look, the project is going on. There are a few problems they acknowledge, but it's going on as planned. How does that come to you?
before I come to this answer, let me go back again to what I was saying earlier on, with regards to government trying to substitute 24-hour market to the 24-hour economy. And my respected colleague on the other side said to me just now, when I was listening to him, that I cannot say that because in the 24, I'm a legislator. And let us also know that. And two, I'm the ranking member for Trade Industry and Tourism Committee of Parliament. And I'm telling you for a fact that it was only stated in a paragraph. When you read the document, you can check. It is about 1,000-page document. And it was only stated that government was going to develop fish markets, not 24-hour markets. So don't confuse the system. You see, because I know what I'm talking about. It has been going on. That's how come I look through so much concern about trying to set the record straight for people to know that the 24-hour economy is not the same as 24-hour market. Two different initiatives. Now I go back to what we're talking about. Let's see, the Ministry of Local Government is the supervisory ministry of all governments, local government authorities in the country. They cannot in any way say they want to distance themselves, as I said earlier on. Mm-hmm. And between me and you can tell that there are more than what he's talking about. Most of them, I've gone around the country, not all, I can say to them, that not everywhere, I've not been to everywhere, but I've been to about 8 places and the things are stored. It's a fact. Nothing is taking place. They only can store and they barricaded the place that construction is underway, but nothing is working because there are a lot of controversies surrounding the places that they've chosen to set up these markets because there were not enough consultations with the chiefs because where they said they have a earmark for the market has been taken over by somebody. My point is that we should do more because whether they like it or not, construction is not going on as being said or being claimed across the country. A lot of the places, nothing is working. I see.
So when you ask that we do more, what does more look like?
More means that there should be a lot of consultation. More means that they should look for a place that has less controversy. More means that the chiefs must be involved. More means that opinion leaders must be involved. These are people who can help you to establish a situation that will create, less stress for people. Because immediately you do it by force at your own discretion without consulting the chiefs who are the traditional owners of the area. It creates problems. That is when the chief maybe might have sold the land to other person, and government will say that they still own the land, especially when you are operating a system where the lands there are not vetted. It will create a lot of problems. So my point is that government must do a lot of consultations, and they must not use force to set up markets. Because if you do that, it will create a lot of problems.
Very honorable. Osama, I'll give you the last word on this, and I want you to speak to 2 issues. One being the concerns being raised by these communities, but also why it would appear that very important locations like a bank and a school would have to give way for the 24-hour economy market. What is that about?
Thank you very much. I appreciate the concerns being raised by the Honorable Member of Parliament. And like he rightly said, we have to do more. And so, we as a ministry, we are aware of some of these challenges across the country. And I want to promise him that we are going to do more. We will ensure that the necessary consultations are done at the local level to at least bring peace and understanding, because project is meant to bring people together, not to some sort of serve as a source of conflict. And so we will ensure that we engage the regional ministers, who are the supervising ministers, to ensure that some have come to our attention. We write to the regional ministers, they are able to sort out the issue.
Very well. Did it come to your attention that in Wa, a school that is about 72 years old was being moved for the 24-hour economy market? Did the ministry know?
Yes, you remember your correspondent rightly said it, that my honorable minister went there and he directed that the school should be there.
But that is not what has happened. The school has had to give way for the market.
Yes, it is an internal arrangement. If you heard what Wangara said, they said the school itself has problem in terms of structure. The structure integrity of the school was questionable. So there was an agreement, in fact, agreed by even the chiefs, that there was a need for them to demolish the school to give way for the market by relocating the students to other schools.
Demolish the school, not to construct a new one. Not to construct a new one, but to displace the students into a new school location just so we can build the markets. Does that sound okay?
School cannot be constructed just in a day. So there's a need to first temporarily host them somewhere as we prepare the ground for a new classroom to be constructed.
Usama Idrisu, thank you so much for your time. Usama Idrisu is with the local government ministry. Also, the Honorable Member of Parliament for New Jabin South, Michael Otri Befi, was on this conversation with us. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time here. Still ahead, we'll talk about the NPP regional elections, but also some quick updates from court. Don't go away. I'll be right back.
Mino All-in-One Nutrimix is truly milky and contains calcium. So no need to add milk to that rich, creamy cup, which helps to nourish and energize your kids. Mino All-in-One Nutrimix is such a smart choice. Mino, energy to go further.
Talk because I already know everything now.
I don't know anything. I don't know anything.
I think that it's better that you talk to me because otherwise I'm going to call the police.
Malu,
and you know
it was Amora. She forced me to switch the results.
They grew up together, but the world tore them apart.
What did you do to Gianni?
Don't go in there.
Murderer!
God knows that I didn't mean to kill her, but I killed Gianni.
I'm gonna kill you.
Now fate will bring them back, but not without a fight. Love, betrayal, and a past that won't stay buried.
I didn't do anything, man. I didn't do anything.
You tried to kill my wife.
You're crazy, man.
Beto, what are you doing? Stop it. Are you crazy?
3 hearts, 1 destiny. Who will win when love gets tangled?
Tangled Hearts shows Monday to Thursday at 8 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by Deluxy Acrylic Paint.
Narrow Prime Water. Trust in every drop.
Mino All-in-One Nutrimix is truly milky and contains calcium. So no need to add milk to that rich, creamy cup, which helps to nourish and energize your kids. Mino All-in-One Nutrimix is such a smart choice. Mino, energy to go further.
Welcome back to the Daily Brief. I am Kemeni Amano. Now, 2 things are happening for the NPP right now. A successful end to the regional executive elections, a very important step towards shaping its manpower for the 2028 election. The other, the beginning of an even bigger step. Nominations are now open for any member of the party interested in an elective national executive position. We'll get you to the ground shortly, but right now, I want us to take a listen to Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia at the end of the regional elections over the weekend. Well, we cannot bring you that now. Perhaps we'll just segue into a conversation on the back of the regional executive election, paying keen attention to 2 regions, the Ashanti and Greater Accra regions. Because in the Ashanti region, well, that's on your screen now. The internal election there came out with Odenho Kwekuapia, also known as Koka, as the new NPP Ashanti Regional Chair, a businessman by himself. This is the first time he's stood in the election and won without Chairman Wontumi in the picture. In the last 2 elections, he came very close in that race with Chairman Wontumi. But there he is. Koka is the new man to lead the NPP in the Ashanti region as far as the arsenal for the 2028 election is concerned. Whether or not he will recover from the NDC's beating of the Ashanti region in many respects in that region, we will discuss that in a tad. But also in another crucial region is the Greater Accra region, where Dr. Bernard Okoboy, our former Health Minister, former CEO of the National Health Insurance Authority, former board chair of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, and former MP for Lejokuku. He will now head affairs as the NPP Greater Accra Regional Chairman, taking over from Divine Agohom, who did not seek re-election in this one. But let's have a quick chat. Dr. Kwesi Amache is... Well, my understanding is we do not have Dr. Amache yet, but we want to have a conversation with Dr. Amache regarding these names that we are seeing. Can I show you also the Bono Ahafo region, where we know that Kwame Bafo, popularly known as Abronye DC, retained that position. Now, if you've been listening to conversations, there was that expectation that Bono wouldn't have retained him. But here he is. He says that he will show people why he was retained. But let's try Dr. Kwesi Amache again. He is a political analyst on this matter. Doc, good evening to you, and thank you for your time tonight. Let's focus on the Ashanti region first. With a man like Koka in the steering wheel at the helm of affairs for the party, what are your readings?
Good evening, and thank you for having me. It's a pragmatic, you call him, and a strategist. He's very calm, but then firm with what he does. And so generally, you expect him to be able to put the rank and file together and possibly help to mend, the part as one body. But then that said, the dynamics in Ashanti region tend to be quite intricate because earlier on you had an impression that the grassroots of the party is sort of woven into the fabric of, people in the region. But then, as we saw in the last elections, it is not necessarily so. So talking about the party, we want to limit ourselves to card-bearing members. And these people are not enough to win elections for the MPP. So he has a bigger challenge of having to reach out to generally the people of Ashanti region who have been providing massive support for the party over the years. I think he's going to have to rebuild all those things from the scratch.
Is he capable? Hello, Doc.
No, that is the challenge. That is a challenge, especially because, hello.
We can hear you, Doc. Go ahead.
Good. I was saying that is really the challenge because the party is not in power and people were let down terribly the last time around. The party was in power and they saw what the party could do for them and people were terribly not satisfied. Kumasi market women were left in the cold. The market never got built. They've had to stay at home for a long time. Many of them, it's obvious, might have used up their capital. And so the devastating effect of, the governance of the leadership of the party the last time around on the region is still there. And people obviously are still licking their wounds. And so I'm at a loss as to how Mr. Koka is going to be able to get the massive support that they used to have.
Let's turn attention to the Greater Accra region, which was not kind to the NPP in the last general election. Much like Coca, Dr. Okoboy will have the task of making the NPP attractive to the Greater Accra region voter again. Does he stand a chance?
Well, Dr. Okoboy himself was in government, and he did what he could do when he was in government, and obviously what he did wasn't enough. And the dynamics in Accra tend to be different from Kumasi. Everybody is there, Accra is sort of made up of all of us Ghanaians. We are all there. So over there, things are quite, difficult and different. And, the NDC, for example, has a huge support base in Accra, much as the NPP. And so I believe strongly that the performance of the NDC is what will really tell whether people will switch support to the NPP this time around. And something that we want to consider as something that is not very probable, because you expect the NDC to also not forget about the fact that they have a charge. The sort of a social contract that they have with society is something they will not take their eyes off. Currently, you see that the economy, generally speaking, is doing so well. They are the basics, the fundamentals that should be, put in place. And having achieved that, you expect them to move on and continue to do better, address several of the challenges in Accra, the inner roads, the issue of garbage collection, and possibly the challenge with the cost of foodstuffs. I'd like to believe that the NDC is up to this challenge and will be able to address them. And so, being in opposition, I'm wondering what Dr. Okoboy will be able to do. Practically nothing. He doesn't command any resources. So everything will depend on the ability of the NDC to, address itself significantly to these challenges.
Doc, we'll leave it here. Thank you very much for your insights on the subject matter. Dr. Kwesi Amachibuate is a political analyst. We've just been looking at the successful end of the NPP's regional executive election. We focus on two regions, where in the Ashanti region, where Odenihon Kweku-Appiah, also known as Coca, is the new regional chairman for the party. In the Greater Accra region, Dr. Bernard Okoboy will head the NPP at its regional office. Now, quick updates from the courts today. Now, former Attorney General Godfrey Dame was in court to represent former NAFCO boss Hanan Abdul-Wahab Aludiba. Now, last week, you remember that Dame, who is protesting the ongoing trial during the legal vacation, was absent. Aludiba then told the court his counsel had taken ill. But Dame, after the hearing today, explains his own absence.
For the specific reason that we have to come and satisfy the court on why still proceedings that we have filed should stay in the hands of the court. How does the media make as a headline the fact that I'm not well? Of course, I understand that the fact that I'm not well was just one of the submissions made by my client in court the last time, and that's a matter of fact. And that's the reason why I came today, to dispel the falsehood out there. Allegations are heard by the Deputy Attorney General that I was not well and all that. And that's most unbecoming. I've been in this practice for many years, over 23 years and all, and I've never had any issue like that. I'm the kind who definitely will not avoid proceedings except warranted, or except the circumstances that are very necessary. And so that's it, and that's why I came today, to dispel the doubt. Yes, of course, it's a matter of record. That was not well, but that's not the main issue. The reason why we came today was to satisfy the court on why motion for stay proceedings we have filed long before.
Now, that case and another to do with the former National Signals Bureau boss were both adjourned to August 25, awaiting the outcome of a suit at the Supreme Court challenging the directive by the Chief Justice for some courts to sit during legal vacation. Well, we'll continue to keep an eye on that story, bring you updates here on the Daily Brief as and when they emerge. But that'll be all for today. As always, a pleasure having you here on the show. I am Kemini Amano with the Daily Brief, and you have been briefed.